ask show of hands, how many end users, who are the end users? I'm not going to attack you, don't worry, I just was curious. Thank you. I am sure you're sitting there, you've probably all done your research, and I'm just sitting in my seat thinking, how in the world am I ever going to figure this out? They all sound so similar. And as you get into the weeds of it, they're obviously very different. So I don't envy you in this process. Obviously, standing around in the booths tonight talking to people is probably your best bet. So I'll give you my 4 minutes and 30 seconds now on VERVE. So context, VERVE was founded 30 years ago as a controls system integrator. So designing control systems for power, water, chemical, steel, paper, all sorts of things. About 15 years ago, our clients, before my time, but our clients came to us and said, okay, we now are being regulated by NERC, SIP, and other regulations. You guys designed it, figure out how to secure it. And so that was the birth of what we now call the VERVE Security Center, which is sort of pictured here on the board. But the reason I raise this is the way we built VERVE, it was built by ICS engineers for ICS engineers, right? It was built to specifically deal with the challenges of securing endpoints in these environments. And so when you think about how you're going to secure this, right, you've got network intrusion stuff, right? The Nozomis, the Clarities, the Armises, et cetera. They're going to look at your network traffic and going to evaluate that traffic for risks, et cetera. Cisco, et cetera. All important things, right? We're an endpoint management tool, right? So meaning you have HMIs, you have PLCs, et cetera. Our view is you got to get to the endpoint to be able to manage the endpoint. And that means you got to communicate with it. Many people are nervous about that. It's OT, you can't communicate with OT. Our guys have been doing this for 30 years, right? Rockwell, if you're an engineer, you're communicating with that device all the time. And so what we do is we communicate directly with the devices. We gather back that information so that it's 100% certain. You're not dependent on traffic on a wire. You're not dependent on estimating what's in a packet. You just go and ask the data for the data. Or you gather it back in other ways, but you do it directly from the device. And what that means is VERVE starts with this very, very detailed asset management. So you asked, how do I do, Rockwell PLCs 3 levels down? Well, use SIP path to get to it. Same way with Siemens, same way with ABB, you name it, right? You go and you get the data from the devices. You gather back really, really detailed data from the Windows devices, the HMIs, the servers, et cetera. That forms the basis of that gear in the middle that we do. And then from that, we can provide a range of applications, right? Vulnerability management, patch management, configuration management, host intrusion, et cetera. All about that endpoint. And then bring all that data back to the top so that you can analyze it and prioritize the endpoint actions. And that's the last bit of this, right? So not only is it an endpoint detection tool, right, gathering the data, but then when you need to patch something, you use VERVE to patch it. When you need to harden a config, you harden the config. When you need to manage users and accounts, when you need to manage ports and services, et cetera, you can actually manage the endpoint from VERVE. Rather than just detecting something's wrong, you can actually take action to remediate that. And all of that is built with ICS specific first, right? Engineers, ICS control system engineers designing this. So it's 100% safe in all the various control system vendors. And it's built in a way that ensures when we take those actions, whether it be a patch or a configuration hardening or responding to a threat, those actions are done within the sequence of steps that needs to ensure OT reliability as those steps are taken. So as you think about it, you, the end users, what am I going to do to protect this? Well, I've got network. I got to think about that. I got to think about firewalls. I got to think about network intrusion detection. I got to think about maybe diodes, et cetera. And then I got to think about endpoints. And how am I going to get accurate asset inventory? How am I going to patch them? How am I going to manage users and accounts, et cetera? There is, unfortunately, no silver bullet here. Thinking about what it is that you're trying to accomplish and finding the right platform for that is probably the best way to go at it. So again, thank you. Look forward to talking with all of you over the next couple of days. I'm John Livingston, by the way. And you may have. So I look forward to meeting all of you as the week wears on. Thank you.